Alright, we're going to do a quick video on how to set up and operate the Series 1 Eliminator. That's the first series we come out with. It has the Twico switch that's on the red hammer. Now the first thing you do with this welder when you open one of them up, and most of them's already out there and been opened up, you've got to put a coupler on the end of your work hose. This is your work hose. Put your coupler on there because we don't send this coupler out with it because we don't know what size fitting you use, okay? The other thing is when you're operating this unit, you've got to hook air up right here and you got to hook electrical up right there. The next thing is turn your regulator on at the bottom, set this regulator at approximately 10 pounds. You don't want to go over 15 pounds because if you do, you got to remember these gauges can only read 15 pounds. If you get too high pressure, you'll mess up the needle that's inside of this here gauge, and then it'll spring it to another position and it won't never come back to zero. Now, the next thing you do with this welder is you come right here. You want this here gauge to read 3 pounds. I can turn it down to zero where you can see it on the monitor there, but turn it up to 3 pounds because it has to be around 3 pounds for this pressure switch inside of here to kick on and off. Now the reason for the pressure switch is so that if you was to disconnect the air on the side, it would turn off the electricity automatically so you won't burn up the element that's inside of this welder right here. Now this is your red handle welder. It has a Twico switch. After you set this at 3 pounds, you have to go over to this side and turn this switch on. You can leave your temperature off. You turn your light on. It should be reading because if this pressure was to drop down too low, what happens is it'll turn that red light off. So you got to have pressure to make it work. Alright, I'm going to put a reading of 3 pounds on there. Now then, the next thing you do is you go over to your nitrogen side. With your nitrogen bottle on reading 10 pounds, it'll kick in and out. You can hear it click. And it should read about 2 pounds is where you want your setting at. The only way you can set this side here is to hold down on the Twico. Now I want you to take note of this. If this particular side here with the regulator drops too low, it'll go to clicking, it'll go crazy. Now that's one way of saying it dropped too low. Now I'm going to set it back up there a little bit above 2 because that's where I weld at. But here's the other thing. If you run out of nitrogen at the bottom, that same effect you're going to get it. It's going to go to clicking. And the reason for the clicking is to let you know that you're out of nitrogen. Now, normally there's only one way that you'll get a clicking sound. That is if you've turned your regulator down too low, and you turn it back by holding down on the Twico, or you've lost pressure at the bottom. Usually if you lose pressure at the bottom, if you look at your gauge, it's supposed to read the cubic foot that's in the bottle. Look at it. If it's down to zero, or it's down to where it can't put no pressure to read 10 pounds, it's going to cause a clicking sound. The reason for that is a lot of times I get calls on people that they don't know how to set this unit up. Just remember, set this side at 3 pounds, then you got your pressure locked in for your pressure switch, which will make this red light come on and off. Okay? Now, the second step is to go to this right here, and like I say, adjust it. If it ain't set on what you want it, go ahead and set it, because if it's already dropped too low, it's going to click. So we're going to go up to about 2 pounds. That's where I weld at, anywhere from 2 to 2.5 pounds. So, when the best welding I found is when that hair right there blow on your arm with that welder. That's about the pressure you weld, polypropylene, TPO, and TEO. Now the next step is to get you some heat. You got to have heat. So then you set your temperature. So on this particular one, set it over here about medium. You'll start feeling heat come out of there instantly. You can even smell it, okay? Now, you don't want to weld down into this danger zone, even though it ain't no bad deal, but if you put it all the way wide open in the danger zone, this here tube right here, which is where the element at, is going to turn red on you. You don't need it red. It gets so hot that it will cause your weld to spit. But if you was welding HDPE, which is a very hard type of plastic, which like they use on kayaks or some different particular things, based on the thickness of HDPE, you would want it all the way down, wide open, and you'd have to turn your pressures up a little bit because HDPE welds at a hotter temperature. But I usually weld on my bumpers and headlights at about a medium setting on this particular welder. But the main thing I want to keep everybody in mind of, it's written on the machine how to adjust this welder. It says adjust air pressure to 3 pounds, turn on left welder switch. That's this switch right here. Normally with this one off. That way you got a red light. Then step 2 says turn on nitrogen. That bottle set at 10 pounds. Hold down trigger on this red handle right here and adjust nitrogen by holding it down. You have to adjust it with it down, because when you let off, it's going to read a back pressure every time. See, there's your reading right there. But it's going to throw a back pressure up there when you're off of it. Same thing is true over here. When I hit this switch here, I'm going to show the back pressure that's on this one. But there's the reading with me off of it here. It gives me the accurate reading. Now, another thing, if you run this pressure up too high going in this unit at any time, or you turn this regulator too high, and you was to turn it up to where it should read 30 pounds, remember, these gauges are going to read 15. That's the highest they can go. If you run them too high, that needle is going to get sprung. When you turn it down, it's not going to come back to normal reading. One other thing I want to show in this video is this. It's when this pressure goes to going down, I want everybody to understand this. It will turn that light off. Now when that bottom's out with no pressure, that light's going to go off. You cannot operate this side at all unless there's electricity going to here, because that solenoid is hooked up to where it cannot operate either without pressure. So it was just a safety device that we built in so that people wouldn't burn this here element up right here, which could cost you some money. But anyway, always at the end of your welding, you get through welding a bumper or anything and you're through using your unit, turn your temperature off. You can turn this switch off. Let this air flow through here until you can touch this right here with it cold. And then disconnect your air and your electrical on that side. I hope you got something from this video. This was the first series unit we put up. We had a lot of people couldn't understand how to operate it. They finally caught on, but we never put a video up on it, so now we're going to have a video up where it's self-explanatory. Thank you. I'm David Smith, the Bumper Smith.